I believe the change is going to be these provocations. Look at the neocons with Israeli and NATO-backed forces launching the sneak attack on the Russian-held South Ossetia on 8/8/8. So it appears that they are trying to launch a major, larger than a theater war. As the Rand Corporation said a month ago, they want a major new war.
Yes, indeed, you are right, because this is an old theory, which is geostrategic theory, put out first by Mackinder and then by Mahan, who was an admiral in the U.S. Navy, that this is the rimland. You have to first control the rimland in Asia before you can strike in the heartland of Asia. So this heartland, rimland thing, I think it fits into the story. It fits into the picture that if they have a conflict in the rimland and they can control it, and then it becomes so much easier to go and penetrate into the heartland. But this is really asking too much at a state when America is not in a very healthy economic condition. So I think this is a brinkmanship of the highest order. And if they enlarge the area of conflict in this war against terrorism, and if they prolong the period of conflict, then America will definitely lose.
General.
Because I know that when you are fighting the irregular fighters, when area of conflict is enlarged, let's say it's extended into the tribal areas of Pakistan, or it is pushed into Kashmir as well, so that China can be monitored and watched quite easily, then the area will become larger, and the U.S. simply does not have the troops. And there is not a moral cause strong enough for the American people to be mobilized behind it.
So that's why they staged.
This is sheer madness to be thinking of such things at this time.
So that's why they need proxies like India to destabilize the region for the encirclement of Russia and, of course, China blocking those pipelines. Now, sir, in the time we've got left, you worked with the United States, with Saudi Arabia, with Israel, or at least Pakistan did, fighting the Russian invasion. Of course, if these reports are incorrect, correct me, but you were one of the main commanders helping the Mujahideen. Then you were the head of Pakistani intelligence right at the time that you finally had the victory against the Russians. It is reported here that Al-Qaeda was founded by the new Secretary of Defense Gates and Zbigniew Brzezinski, or that they were the Wahhabist fighting corps, and that they are now being used to try to bring down the Pakistani government and to stage attacks inside India. So can you speak with your particular expertise to that? And then also the fact that they're trying to now list you as a terrorist. And then thirdly, did you ever meet Osama bin Laden? Is Osama bin Laden dead many years ago of kidney failure, as Benazir Bhutto said?
Well, I was actually in charge of operations against the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, and the Americans were providing the logistic support, and Saudis were sharing one half of the budget for this war, and it was a cheap war because in all those 10 years that we were fighting the Russians, we spent not more than $5 billion out of the American exchequer, so it was a very cheap war for the Americans to have defeated the Russians and rid the whole of the West of this red menace that they used to call. So at that time, Osama bin Laden and his colleagues, they were admired and they were romanticized by the CIA operators. I had never met him then. I had nothing to do with him because I was only busy training the Afghans. We had to win a war. We had a task on our hand. It was a very big task. And we were so occupied with the training only the Afghans. No other national was trained by the ISI. I can vouch on that. Not a single person, not even a Pakistani, was trained by them. Osama bin Laden was, I had never met him, but these people used to come and talk glowingly about him. I met Osama bin Laden after my retirement from the army in 1993 December in Khartoum, and then again in year 1994 November, when I was there invited by Hassan bin Turabi to an international conference, and during that conference, Osama invited us to a banquet, and it was all in an open place, and where there were many other people present, He struck to me as a very normal human being, not a bloodthirsty animal that is being presented by the CIA now. At that time, no conversation between him and me took place. I don't know whether he's living or dead, but so far, Aman al-Zawahiri has been representing him in various interviews of Osama that have been put out. So one doesn't really know, but the last interview, which was a voice interview, in that the CIA and the other U.S. intelligence agencies authenticated that it was Osama's voice. So one doesn't really know whether he's living or dead.
Well, sir.
But even if he's not living, he's now a symbol. Al-Qaeda is a franchise. Whoever created that, and for whatever reason they created, I think it wasn't there until 1996 when he was lodged in Khartoum. Later on, he was invited by Burhanuddin Rabbani, who is now part of the Northern Alliance in Kabul. And he came over and he set up his headquarters in a place called Tora Bora near Jalalabad. But that's where one started hearing of Al-Qaeda and the activities of Osama bin Laden. And also of the fact that his commander was responsible for bringing the Black Hawk down, the famous operation in Mogadishu, where an American aircraft was brought down by a Stinger, which had probably been supplied in Afghanistan to Afghan Mujahideen.
Okay, General, I need to, in the time we have left here, because we've only got a few minutes left with you here, maybe 5 minutes and we're going to break, and I don't want to keep you any longer. We can perhaps have you back up in the future. Specifically, though, we know his CIA control name was Tim Osman. We know he was the bag man for a lot of the Saudi money and the Israeli money going in. I know that was compartmentalized and separate from Pakistani intelligence, from what I've read, from different perspectives, and U.S. intelligence. So I believe you there. My whole point here is that clearly Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda didn't carry out the attacks of 9/11, as you yourself have said. And bin Laden, in his first interview, said that he didn't do it. Then they produced these computer-morphed videos and fake audios that have been checked. And the Intel Center, headed up by Rumsfeld's former lieutenant, the private group, was caught putting the same video layer in with the original video. So it's been proven that they're creating these fake videos.
Yes, there is no doubt about it that this video, which was put out in November by George Bush and said this was Osama bin Laden, he was a high cheekbone, like the Mongoloid features. He wasn't as tall as Osama bin Laden was, and one could clearly make out that this was doctored, this had been created on purpose just to justify the attack on Afghanistan. I think there are many things which are going wrong or being done on behest of the government by the CIA, which are not correct. The CIA used to be good when they were working with us, but I don't know what happened thereafter. Well, I think it is their overarching ambition, or it is their fear that America would lose its clout, whatever the reason, or it is perhaps the Israeli fear that they are surrounded by a sea of hostile enemies who could, if the Americans don't now, at this point in time, they don't deliver a fatal blow to all their enemies, then Israel, who have a short shelf life, otherwise also because it is an artificial state, that they would probably not exist, or they would have...
General, as you know, they have, in the time we have left, they have over 400 nukes. They have total dominance. No one could attack them with nukes. They have the anti-missile defense systems. I believe it's a red herring that they want to start World War III for their, quote, safety. It's World War III that will destroy Israel.
Yes, indeed, and I think this 2006 September experience, I think if it is any indicator for them, when they went into southern Lebanon and they got such a buffeting at the hands of Hezbollah, I think that dare not do something like that, because it would mean annihilation of Israel. And in any case, this Palestinian question is a very thorny question, and I don't know why the U.S. administration is not addressing it differently.
Okay.
Instead of these two different states, there should be one Abrahamic state of Palestine.
General.
Because all the three religions which claim that they are divine religion, they have their origin in Palestine, and I think something new has to be thought about.
All right.
But unfortunately, Bush administration, in its at the advent of its tenure, it said that they would sort out this Palestinian issue by creating two states.
All
but
right.
after 8 years, we have gotten nowhere at all.
All right, General, we're almost out of time. 2 final questions, and I'm going to let you go. And you can any websites, any books, any materials you'd like to point people at to see your side of the story. We'd love to see it. 2 questions. Let me give them both to you and then answer them, please.